level,
Hi guys,
not telling,
Yakuza.
I don't think that other people are going to be suspicious of her not telling Bane that she's not using Vito necessarily, but she is unnecessarily souring Bane by obviously leading them on, and I think that there are other events that will happen later in the night that will sour other people to Christmas.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, I'm so excited.
Oh boy. Well, Bailey talks to Ian, and he lets her know that he likes percentages. He's about 60-40, leaning toward keeping Dave on. That he, unfortunately, this isn't fair to Bailey, but he just has a better relationship with Devon outside of the house. He knows her. He doesn't really know Bay. She tells him that, well, just as a heads up, Christmas named you as her untouchable. And Ian is like, a little bit later, he's like, can I just have a question. Can I ask you a question? Sure. What is an untouchable? Like, what does that mean? She's like, well, it's somebody that you would never touch, that you would never put on the block, or send home, or vote against, or anything like that. Like, that is your person. He's like all the way to the end. Like, even in, like, final three, you still wouldn't touch, yeah, all the way. You never touch them. Like, so it's the final two. Well, yeah.
Oh gosh. This conversation was super fun to watch because you could tell that he was like trying to get her to say it's a final two, and she was just like finding every way not to be like it's your final two. And when the feeds came up and they were talking about untouchables, like we didn't know what the hell they were talking about. Like we're just like, because we weren't able to see that conversation, and then and then he's like, so it's the final two, and she was like, yeah, and just like kind of like nonchalantly.
And he was like, and because can you have more than one untouchable? She's like, no. Like,
so it's clearly a final two, dude.
Yeah. And he's gonna.
It's not even just the final two. It's like the true final two.
I agree. Enzo's gonna make fun of this term later. I'm so happy that I brought this up the other day, and now they're in the house and they're totally on board with me. And I'm like, thank you, because this untouchable thing is just weird. I keep just picturing Uncrustables.
Peanut butter and jelly. You're the peanut butter to my jelly. You're my Uncrustable.
you're my Uncrustable. I love you just as much as I love Uncrustables.
Oh my goodness.
Alright, so Bay also talks to Kevin. She tells him about the Tyler stuff. Again, says this is all Tyler's fault, that he's been doing this to me for a long time. She tells him that he tried to self-evict because he felt so guilty. And Kevin says, oh, I don't believe that. I don't believe that he was ever going to want to quit. So Kevin thinks that this is all, like, this has all been a Machiavellian scheme, which is, again, I fully believe is not the case. I saw some people think, like, oh, this is Tyler's funeral. This is if this was a game move, which I fully believe it was not, it's a terrible one. It doesn't do anything for Tyler.
It makes him look really bad. It makes him look really bad. And can I just say about the Kevin conversations, something I've realized is Kevin is like the most, I don't even know if cynical is the right word, but Kevin is like the conspiracy theory person of the season. Like, everything you say, like, I don't believe anything anyone says, like, you need to prove it to me, and I need it in writing, and I need physical, verbal, mental, and sight proof. Like, I don't believe anything anyone says ever, and I kind of dig it. Because, you know, when you're playing Big Brother, you believe none of what you hear and only half of what you see.
Kevin's all over the place.
Yeah, he really does not believe anything ever.
I liked that he was having a conversation with Danny. It might have been yesterday, it might have been the day before. They were talking about like Danny was talking about how it's not fair that Bay and Day are complaining that they get paired together because, you know, like Day said to her on day one, like, Bay's my untouchable, and that they're always hanging out together. They're tight. They're tight. That's another term. Tight. And Kevin says, I see that, but I put my empathy hat on, and I can see where they're coming from, right? I can see why they might be upset about it. He's trying to explain it, but I just love this term empathy hat. If I put my empathy hat on.
Yeah. So, speaking of the scene as a peer conversation that Danny had, so I wanted to like yell at the scene and like scream at her and be like, "You're not understanding."
Okay.
Okay, we get it.
Oh, we already saw this earlier, didn't we?
And there's certain people that are paired up that are.
I know it was the women fighting for it. Hold on.
Even.
I suppose the Yakuza here. I mean, at this point, like, narratively, I'm not that interested in it. Like, it's fine. It's like, whatever.
Based on this,
I really don't like how drawn out a lot of these scenes are, though.
Regardless of that, they are still going to be seen as K-Star and Janelle. With Day and Bay coming into the house as the sole two black girls who have a prior relationship via Twitter, via Swaggy, via the community or whatever, they are seen as a pair. From the house. During the game, people have become pairs throughout the game, but Cody and Memphis have become a pair.
Oh, but no one knows that they're a pair.
Become a pair. It's not the point of them being pairs. It's the point that Christmas decided to target this specific pair for, to be honest with you, I've been watching the feeds, and I still don't know why they're on the block.
It's because she's not in their alliance.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
they're not in her alliance.
My point is...
Like, she can't target Nicole and Danny, who are another obvious pair, because, like, she's in their alliance.
Yes, well, I can tell you the reason they're on the block is a couple tries, a couple guys. That's what it stems back to. Which really, I mean, that's the funny thing it stems back to. The real thing it stems back to is night one, Nicole and Danny having a conversation about Day and Bay being an inseparable duo and Bailey being problematic and waiting for her to blow up.
Yeah, I do think a lot of this also has to do with Bailey's reputation coming in.
Couple tries, couple guys was the thing that set off those tripwires, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's annoying and it's frustrating and just that added on to these comments we'll get to later about how, you know, Christmas says the only people that she would be afraid of winning HOH are Day or Bay, whichever one stays, and then Kevin or David. Or the fact that when Cody, Tyler, and Memphis are outside in the backyard after the barbecue are talking about who they would put up, they only say Kevin, David, and then Day or Bay, whichever one stays. And does something ring a bell there? What do all those people have in common? They don't freaking look like you. And it's really bothering me because I get it, okay? Sometimes.
Again, but that's how human nature is, that
in
you
the beginning of the game, you might gotta put them up and get them out, etc.
are able to easily get close to people who are more like you.
Over again, from multiple house guests.
Wait, what are we doing?
These like groupings of them all together, like it's. I'm gonna digress. Go ahead, Nick.
All right. Well, Tyler and David have their conversation. Like I said, David is upset with Tyler because he feels like David is feeling a little bit of responsibility. Because again, David now thinks that what Bay is saying is real. That Tyler has been gunning for Bay this whole time, and David is feeling some responsibility for that because he's been trying to get them to work together. And so he feels like he kind of screwed Bay over by vouching for Tyler when Tyler was gunning for Bay this whole time, which isn't actually what happened, but it's what Bay thinks happened, and now it's what David thinks happened. And so you can tell that he is like not pleased with Tyler, and Tyler is trying to explain his side of the story, which I already explained, and he says at the end of it that like now I'm stuck here till the end anyway because of jury, so my head is going to be fully in the game and I can reset, and so I think David still believes Bay. I think David thinks that Tyler is lying to him and that he was gunning for Bay the whole time. That's my read on David. David is then going to make the reason I have that read, make it clear that he doesn't trust Tyler at all. He's like, Tyler, I know you have a power. Tell me about it. And Tyler's like, I wish, man. I wish that I had a power. That'd be great. David is like, Tyler, don't. Come on, man. I know you have power. Tyler's like, I really don't. David's like, why am I here? Tyler. I was like, to do well, to prove yourself. It's like, no. I'm here because I knew what was going on in my season. I know what's going on right now. I know these things, Tyler. I can see them. I can read them. I know you have the power. Please just don't use it against me. If anything, use it to help me. I was like, okay, I'll use my imaginary power to help. What do you mean? We use it against you? What are you talking about, dude? We're working together. I swear to you, I do not have a... Listen, David, I swear on Ovi, I do not have a power. And David's like, that's not fair. Don't do that. Do not take Ovi's name in vain, sir. That is serious. That is heavy.
Yeah, that was a very comical conversation to watch. Like, because the more that David accused Tyler of having a power, the more Tyler was like feeding into it. So that if he did have a power, his hole would have been dug so deep. And the whole time, David's the one with the power. So it was very entertaining to watch. And this just goes to show how of a comedic player David is. That if he's nothing, he's good for you.
Yeah.
If he's nothing else, he's good for you.
I just love this idea that like swearing on Ovi is like the ultimate don't you lie on Ovi.
I should have used
David
that.
says
Whatever.
He's talking about targets. David wants to strike at the trio that's running the house. Cody, Danny, Nicole. Tyler agrees. He says that's a great idea. David asks Tyler, who would you put up on the block if you won? Tyler says Danny and Nicole, because, especially after everything that just happened, they're going to be gunning for me. I'm gunning for them. I saw a lot of people like, oh, he's lying. I don't think he's lying. Personally, Danny has been his target for a while now. I don't know why he would be. And he talked with Enzo about targeting Nicole too. These were, I think, his noms for this.
I should have done that.
If he had won. So I very, very fully believe that this is what Tyler will do if he wins. Who else would he target? Like Ian and Kevin? I guess that would be the sort of backing down move. I guess it's possible, but I believe that he would go after Danny and Nicole. It's what makes sense for his game too.
Yeah, I feel like this would be so regardless of who goes home, I want the other one to an HOH. But if they don't, then my next best option would be Tyler or Kevin, because I think he'd be a psychopath with the knobs. I think he'd be a psychopath when it comes to the knobs, which I love.
Did Kevin?
I think that,
when did Kevin win HOH in this season? Was it not until Jeff?
The next HOH and putting up Danny Nicole would really,
did he only win one HOH?
Force some people
I think he only did, didn't he?
Big Brother, and
then he won 3 vetoes, though, right?
Yeah. All right. let's keep moving through this day because we've still got a lot to go through.
Yeah, we're not even at like 3 o'clock yet.
I know. Bay, Day, and Kevin have a conversation. Day is upset that Tyler invoked the cause during their conversation, and then it didn't happen. And again, I've seen some people saying Tyler did not say the cause, but he did say that he knows they're here for a greater reason. He said that they're standing for something greater than him, and that he wants to help them play that out. So again, there's an implication there that I think you can say that, technically he didn't say these exact words, but there's definitely an implication there, in my opinion.
I agree.
Faye says she does not think that was game. She thinks that he genuinely wanted to leave and that wasn't part of the game. Kevin, though, says, no, I think it is game again. And Dave says, well, no, I mean, Tyler's been trying to leave the game for a while now.
Right.
And Kevin doesn't believe that either. He thinks it's all game. He's been pretending to not want to be here.
I'm not gonna waste it.
Which, for someone like Kevin, who's, got no relationship with Tyler, probably sees Tyler as a Dr. Will, that is exactly what Dr. Will was doing in All-Stars, so I can sort of see why Kevin thinks this, but yeah. Anyway, David goes and talks with Enzo. They talk about Ovi and Hannah for a little while. David compliments Hannah's running of Ovi's social media. They both talk about how they want to keep Bailey in the game. Enzo doesn't have much hope that it can happen, but they talk through some options. Day talks to Tyler, and she says, what's going on, Tyler? Why didn't this happen? And he says, Christmas told me that she wasn't going to do it because it wasn't good for her game, and he lets her know that she has his vote to stay. And she's like, what? And he says, yeah, Bae told me that's what she wanted. And she's like, oh my God. And he says, I'm looking at this like it's a reset. My head is going to be back in the game, and I want to have your back, Day. Day brings this to Bae and Kevin, and she says, okay, I had to hold myself back on this one because Tyler told me that he's voting you out, Bailey, and that now he can finally reset and play. And Bailey took this to mean, I knew it. He's been wanting me out this whole time, and now that I'm gone, now that he's getting me out, now he can actually play the game. He can't play the game while I'm in the house here with him. This has all been one big ploy from Tyler. He's been trying to get me out, and he's been trying to set me up. He's scared that I'm going to flip the votes in the jury, and you know why? Because I did. Last time. I cost him
$450,000. I'm the reason that he lost the game.
Yeah. I cost him $450,000, and little Miss Angela had to sell her Range Rover. And she tells Kevin and Davon, you two better work overtime to make sure he doesn't win this game, because you two are making it in the jury. So that is where they stand with Tyler at the moment.
Yeah, I had to do something for work, so I had to jump off the feeds for the beginning of this conversation. And then I came back and tried to find it, and couldn't for some reason. I don't know. The All Access was messing up, but I did catch the end of this, and it seemed to me like this was the moment when Davon realized that she was gonna have this is before last night, when she realized that she had the votes to stay. Because all week she's been kind of on the fence of whether she had them or not, but I think this is when she realized that she had the votes, because the only votes that she kind of really needed were Tyler's and then maybe one of the boys, Cody or Memphis. And I think she realized that now I have Tyler's vote, so I have Tyler, I probably have Danny, I have Kevin. I can maybe, if Bailey tells David to vote for me, I'll have him, but if not, then I don't have David, and I have Enzo. But she doesn't have Enzo, but she thought she had Enzo. So I think at this point, she thought that she had the votes. And you can see, I don't want to say her demeanor changed throughout the rest of the day, but she did stop her fighting went down a little. Her dial for strategy and gameplay went down a little bit.
Yes, but you can tell that she also is now like extra upset about for Bailey because
right.
Again, they are now under the full impression that not only has Tyler been planning Bailey's eviction for weeks and that everything he said to them was a setup and a lie, but that also that maybe in fact this quit thing was also a setup and a lie, and now he's talking about resetting now that Bailey's not in the game, which isn't what he was actually saying, but it was taken to mean that, and so Devon is really feeling, I think, protective of Bailey in this situation because she feels like she's really been done wrong, and that is, I think, important to know leading up to what happens later in the night. But before we get there, Cody, Enzo, and Tyler talk in the HOH room triple threat meeting. Cody. While all of this is happening, Cody still has a full, clear view of the entire board. That he says that we need to continue to target
at this point,
the people
Cody's
not in our
100%
alliance. So
back in the
I
best
see
spot,
Kevin's
yeah.
getting closer to Day. I see
him and Enzo
Ian is
together.
getting pulled in by Nicole. We don't want that. David is drifting toward them as well. Those are the people we need to watch out for. Ian in particular, I want him gone because I don't want him to be able to, like as the numbers dwindle, I don't need Nicole having an Ian in the game to help her out. So he's really looking at Ian and some of these other members players in the house that aren't in his power structure. He says that, and I really feel like there's going to be 4 women left after this week. I think they're going to try and team up if they haven't already. This is Cody essentially saying something as speculation, but he actually already knows it.
Yep.
Danny told him about this, but he's saying, I think it's going to happen, guys. And Tyler, who has also been told about this by Christmas, is like, yeah, I think you're right. I think it's going to happen. So it's 2 people who know real information who are both speculating to each other about the real information. And Enzo's just like, hey, I'm flipping the whole house, yo. I don't even care. If I win it, yo, that's it. That's it. And Cody says, you can do what you want if you win HOH. Enzo, I believe, is still gunning for Danny and Nicole, just like Tyler. And Cody is trying to get them off of it, and he still has not been able to. So we're still in that spot.
Yeah, so this is the thing about Cody right now is that I don't understand why he's not letting them. I could understand if they won the power and they were serious about, like they told him, I'm gonna put up Danny and Nicole. That's one thing, but they haven't won the power yet. So like, why are you showing them that you don't want Danny and Nicole specifically? Like don't play those cards too early. And I feel like he's sitting in such a good position that if he does that one too many times, or he does it in front of the wrong person, that he's gonna screw himself. And all of his whole game is just gonna fall over. Like, I understand, it's better to be safe than sorry and rather to try to squash it now, but with how fast this game changes, something might change by the time they do win the power to want to put them up. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think Cody is doing the right thing. I think that you should be trying to squash this. People often wait too long, and then there's nothing that they can do about it. He's trying to squash it before it becomes even more obvious that he's trying to block it, right? Because if Enzo wins in HOH next week and he says, Cody, I want it to be Danny and Nicole, then Cody's gonna, Cody having to be like, what about something different? It looks even worse than him, because what he's trying to do is he's trying to set the game plan for them and say, this is what makes the most sense for us. It's targeting these other people. This is why it makes sense. If we do this, we're in a good spot. And he's able to bring it up without it being as obvious. The problem is that Tyler pushed him into this corner last week, and Enzo already sees it, and so he's doing his best, I think, but his best isn't enough to convince Enzo and Tyler, and so Enzo in particular is like, he can say anything he wants.
Right.
I'm cutting his pieces away because just like he doesn't want Ian to support Nicole, I don't want Nicole and Danny to support Cody. So.
I could definitely see it like that. I don't know. I'm just afraid that the place where he's positioned himself, that if any of his cards fall out of his hand, he's done. Because like no one, you could ask all of them who they would put up next week, and none of them are gonna put Cody up. At least not as an initial nom. Maybe as a back door.
Well,
but
I think David would, to be honest, and I think Kevin would. But they would probably try to backdoor him. But
yeah. So I feel like I'm just afraid that if he like lets the wrong thing slip at the wrong time, that he could screw himself. I'm still not a Cody fan. Like I was on last podcast, but whatever.
All right. Well, Memphis and Tyler have a brief conversation. Memphis is saying that he's going after David because David is going after him. Tyler, he can be good in moments. He's trying to very subtly push this away from David. He brings up Ian and Kevin, but Tyler is not good enough to budge Memphis, who is a stone. Memphis is set on David, and he is not biting any of Tyler's bait here. So Memphis is gunning for David, even though David is no longer gunning for Memphis. Memphis doesn't know that. Christmas and Day have a conversation. Day is asking Christmas, why didn't you make the move on Tyler? Christmas says, it was not good for my game, and it's not my responsibility to take Tyler out. Day says,
so that's the other interesting thing is that Series X is now rumored to be $500, $499. Because the Series S rumors that turned out to be true also said that Series X would be $499. So if that's the case, then Sony now has the leverage to do whatever they want with it. If I were to guess, I would say they're going to match the $499 for the disc version. Digital, I'm not sure if they can go down to $299. I'll be surprised if they do. I know people are saying $399. I think that seems more reasonable.
It's not my responsibility. I shouldn't have to make it happen on my HOH. And Devon says, well, just I don't know, like, why wouldn't you want to take this opportunity to work with us? And Chris says, I couldn't trust that Bae wouldn't continue to be upset with me afterwards. And Dave's like, what do you mean? Why? She's like, she's been upset with me all week. And Dave's like, well, yeah, because you put her on the block. Right. Well, yes, exactly. And now that I put her on the block, I can't take the risk that she's not going to come after me if she stays. And you're the one that told me that you were having to hold her back. You told me that she was upset with me and that you were trying to calm her down. Dave's like, well, she has a right to be upset.
Actually, now I think about it even more, I don't think I'll ever buy a Series S. Because I just realized, like, it's essentially once it stops being supported, it's completely useless, right? Like, once Game Pass stops being supported for it. Like, so essentially, I'm saying, like, 10 years down the line, essentially a Series S is going to be completely useless.
Not now. Later, not now. So Christmas is very aware that, like, she's like, I mean, her reaction after the veto ceremony confirms to me that she would not have wanted to work with me after even if I had done it. And Devon's like, she's just upset. She has a right to be upset. Chris is like, she does have a right to be upset. That's her truth. But for me, it was just game. And Dave says, no, you told her, or you exposed personal information. She told you personal information in the game that you used against her and exposed. And Christmas says, no. It was game information. She told me that you were her untouchable. That was game information. She shouldn't have told me that. Dave says, you tricked her into revealing that information. And Christmas says, no. I didn't trick her into doing anything. She approached me. I didn't ask for any of this. She was asking me who my untouchable was. I didn't ask for it. And Dave says, well, no, you took her personal information and you exposed it. And she says, no, We had lots of personal conversations.
Yeah, that's the one thing I do disagree with Devon. That I think is like completely ridiculous of her argument. Is just like personal game information thing that they're like trying to bring up.
You were her untouchable in the game, and that's what I exposed because it's game, and she doesn't understand how to separate personal and game. And Day says, no, it was personal game information. And Christmas says, there's no such thing as personal game information. What does that even mean? And Day says it was personal game information, and Christmas says it was game information. There's no such thing as personal game information. It's personal game information. There's no such thing as personal game information. It was personal game information. What are you talking about?
It was this big circle, back and forth of them saying, there's no such thing. Yes, there is. There's no such thing. Yes, there is. There's no such thing. Yes,
personal game information. Personal game information.
Oh gosh, we knew that something was gonna happen tonight. The way that Devon and Christmas both were like, it's funny because they both.
I'm gonna be back in a second here.
About,
ビリケンのおっさんが言うとったように出会いが違えば仲になっとったかもしれへんな。
殴り合う理由を持って出会えて最高に出会い方やで。
なんや急にまっとうなこと言いよって。ほな聞かせてくれや。第三の勢力は何もんや。
なあ真島君、サガーのおっさん裏切ってわしと組まへんか。
ああ、
誠ちゃんを狙う第三の勢力は日教連ちゅう集団や。
日教連？
東上会の直系組織や。
東上会直系？あほな、日教連なんて聞いたことないで。
そらそうや。表向きには東上会の大門を掲げとらん裏の組織や。誠ちゃんをさらったんはおそらく日教連の総裁世良勝や。
世良勝？
数日前に世良が日教連を引き連れてこっちに潜り込んだっちゅう情報が入ってな。もしや誠ちゃんを狙っとるんやないかと勘ぐってたとこやった。
なんで東上会の勢力が2つも誠狙っとん
2
の？
つ？
俺に誠を殺すように命令出したんは島野の親父や。
島野っちゅうと東上会の島野か。
なあ、世良も島野も東上会。
ほんなら東上会ついでやわしも教えたる。わしの雇い主は堂島組の渋沢っちゅう若頭補佐や。
堂島組？
せや、これまた東上会の直系や。世良の日教連、お前に命令下した島の組、ほんで堂島組、3つ全部東上会や。
一体どういうことや？
なんでやろな。ま、東上会の内輪もめなんかわしには関係あらへんことやけどな。
日教連が隠れてる場所は分かっとんのか？
ちゃんと調べ上げとるで。
どこや？
知ってどないする気や。
誠取り返しに行くに決まっとるやん。
無理や。
あ？
真島君が強いんはよう分かった。せやけど一人でどないかなるほど甘ないで。日教連は
何やと？
東上会の大門掲げてはできへん汚い仕事をこなしとる特殊部隊や。さながら アメリカの CIA、ソ連の KGB 言うたところやな。せやけど、わしと真島君が組めば勝ち目がないわけやない。それにわしと組むっちゅうことは他にもええことがあんで。
何や。
佐川のおっさんからの命令は誠ちゃんを殺すことやろ。佐川と組んでる以上誠ちゃんを殺さなあかん局面にぶち当たんで。でもわしゃ殺しやなくてガラを押さえて依頼主に渡すよう言われとんねん。佐川裏にってわしと組めばとりあえず誠ちゃんを殺すはめにはならんやろ。
悪いな、断るわ。
なんでや。
日教連の世良も誠を殺すようには見えへんかった。もし俺の目的が誠を殺さんことやったとしたら、そのままおとなしく日教連に預けとくわ。せやけど誠はもう十分すぎるほど裏社会の食い物にされてきた。両目まで見えへんようになってな。俺は誠を殺せへんかった。俺には誠を生かした責任がある。ただ命があったらええってことやない。人として生かさなあかん責任や。極道の食い物にはさせへん。
残念やな。お前みたいな男ともっと早く出会わんかったが、ほんまに残念や。
なんや急に。
なんやろな。わしみたいな人間が何を抜かしとんのやろ。
Need to be hot with me, and she's like, Chris was like, okay, I gotta bring myself down. Just give me a second. I just gotta bring myself down. But did I tell you personal information? Like, she's not.
She doesn't bring it down. That's where.
Yeah, we're back, and I love how like we're still in the same fucking scene. Because that's how this fucking game works.
And Devon and Christmas were in that situation, and Christmas comes out of the, and Bailey is the one that puts him up. And Christmas comes out of the bathroom, or out of the DR, and walks into the bathroom to have this conversation. And Bailey is sitting on the couch.
Yeah, we'll end when we get out of this scene.
I didn't come at you crazy. I didn't come at you like loud, like you don't have to be out with me. And Bailey is still going on so crazy. Then Bailey looks like a psychopath. Because of what Bailey looks like. Because of the color of Bailey's skin and how she's seen as a human being playing the Big Brother game. And that is where I got super mad and super upset because, like, people want to gloss over it, but if you follow me on Twitter, you know I will not. Like, there are some things that happen in these social strategic games when it comes to casting, when it comes to people grouping together, ganging up on each other, and treating people a certain way or expecting people to act a certain way. Like, people, like, she feels like she can't do certain things that other people can do. And the fact that after the fight, people were coming up to Devon and Bailey and saying, you handled yourself so well. Like you did a good job. You didn't go off. You didn't go crazy. Like, I'm very proud of you. Like, you don't go say that to two white girls after they argue. Like, because you just don't. Because you're not expecting them to argue. So they just had a fight. We're gonna come over here and calm down, girl. You're fine. You know what I'm saying? And it's just frustrating that that's a struggle that people of color have to go through when they're playing these games.
Yes. So Bailey and Christmas as I was saying, is very escalated, and Christmas is trying to explain that Bay is not separating game from personal, and again, it's like I think this is where Christmas really goes wrong in terms of her argument, in the sense that, like, okay, Christmas separates game from personal, but that doesn't mean that everyone else has to. That doesn't mean that that's the correct thing to do. So you aren't in the right to say, oh, you're not separating game from personal, and that is the standard. And Christmas is trying to explain this, and Bailey says, well, that's not true. I don't not separate game from personal, but Christmas was not finished. And she says, hold on, let me finish. And Bay's like, don't play the victim here. You used me. And Christmas says, I didn't use you. You told me information. And Christmas walks away. Bailey follows. Christmas turns around, puts her hands in Bailey's face, does some clapping, does some pointing. Bailey says, don't do that. Christmas says, don't you make me out to look like that. And that's essentially where we leave off. Christmas goes off to the table. Bailey goes outside with Davon. They start talking about the situation. Davon is very upset that it escalated to that this is not what she wanted, that she feels like she's been set up. They got what they wanted, I exploded, and now it's gonna look a certain way, and Cody and Tyler and Enzo are in the backyard, playing pool, and they're like, it will not look that way. Everyone saw people will be able to see what just happened, that Christmas was very obviously in the wrong here, and while this is happening, Christmas is complaining to Kevin, who was stuck in the kitchen with her.
Kevin looks so awkward.
Very clearly not on Christmas's side, but he's the only one that she can get to talk to her.
That looks ridiculous,
There
but
with
fine.
her, and so she's venting to him, and he's like, it's like this guy, and you can see Tyler, because Christmas gets loud with Kevin, because she's being loud about Day and Bay, and Kevin is just trying to keep her, from blowing up on him, and so Tyler peeks his head in because he hears Christmas being loud, and then he's like, man, I don't want anything to do with Christmas, This is all blowing up. Christmas is still, yelling to Kevin and to the world, and Day and Bay are trying to comfort each other. David talks to Bay. They walk by Christmas, and there's another thing that happens, and they yell. And Day goes to the diary room, and Bailey is talking about how this isn't fair. Cody ends up.
I just realized I think I accidentally uploaded my Yakuza one as public. I just completely forgot about that.
Talking
So
about how out of line Christmas is and how unfair the situation is to Day and Bay.
Oh, that's it? Okay, cool. We can end here then. After we save.
So, what we see, luckily, I think, is that basically the entire house is this is on Christmas. The entire house supports Day and Bay in this, that they were not in the wrong, and that it is not fair for them to be in a situation where Christmas is trying to make it seem like she's the victim. Christmas is saying things like, oh, how dare they make it seem like I'm the one doing this? Like she feels victimized. She feels like she's being made out to be something that she's not, because they're trying to make it out like she is trying to rile them up on purpose and being
Mine's here.
racist.
Next episode, continue on. For now, thank you for watching.